Our public lands are under attack, and we have seen this massive effort to transfer our federally protected public lands to state control. And we know the vast majority of the time that happens, they are sold to the highest bidder for energy development, mineral extraction, and so that politicians can line their pockets with the sale and privatization for other development, and they're closed forever.
One of the things I would do when elected is to rewrite the Antiquities Act. This act has been abused by Presidents Clinton and Obama and others to set aside millions of acres of Utah land. Bears Ears is larger than the entire state of Rhode Island, and it wasn't done with congressional input. It just took President Obama signing that. President Clinton did the Grand Staircase Monument, and these monuments locked up public roads that Utahns used and had privately owned lands inside of them.
I don't think there's any better example of what the right relationship between the federal government and the state government is than the Emery County Public Lands Act, which actually took 1.3 million acres and designated where we would graze, where we would recreate, where we would extract, and where we would protect. And we put that through congressional legislation so that today it's law.
Abortion ends a human life without that human life having any input into it. So I'm 100% opposed to abortion.
People that know me know that I'm absolutely pro-life. But we don't talk about enough the fact that I'm also pro-life of the mother. And I'm also pro-life of that baby after it's born. And yes, the Supreme Court did make a decision that sent that to the states, and I support that decision. I believe that's where it needs to be. I also think that's where we're going to find the most thoughtful conversation about how to deal with this. Let's be honest. Republicans tend to talk about the babies incessantly. Democrats, as a stereotype, tend to talk about the mothers incessantly. Both of those are important. We've got to find the common ground between those. And I think that's best done on the state level.
We've seen these dire unintended consequences of the Dobbs decision. In states like Utah with this uncertainty, we've seen 1 in 5 OBGYNs considering leaving. We've seen an increase in the number of women who die during childbirth. And we have also seen this spread into attacks on IVF. And for my husband, Rob, and I, IVF may be the only way that we can start a family in the future. It's long past time to end this egregious government overreach into our most personal and intimate decisions. Utah deserves a U.S. senator that trusts families to make the best decisions for themselves, free from government intervention.
Do you say your chief criticism of Congressman Curtis's stance on the issue of climate change?
Utah deserves a leader that will walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And so I've heard a lot of talk from the Conservative Climate Caucus, but I haven't seen much meaningful action. And at every opportunity, he has failed to vote for legislation that would meaningfully reduce pollution at scale. He's voted against protections for our air, water, and public lands. And it's time for a new leader.
All of us would have said 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago when I started this, if there were 85 House Republicans who had signed up for a caucus that said the climate's changing and man's had an impact on it, we would have called that success. And I can tell you that all around the country, these 85 Republicans, when asked in town hall meetings if the climate's changing, instead of going to the default of it's a hoax, are now saying, let me tell you what I would do. I'm a strong advocate for those closest to the land are going to take the best care of it. And I think we can document throughout our state's history, not a perfect record, but a very, very good record. The federal government's record hasn't been perfect either, by the way. You look at some of our uranium mining and things like that. And so I support local control, and I do support the state's effort.